Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown,
the unofficial sumo podcast
for official sumo fans.
Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown. This is Ryan.
This is Jake.
And this is our review of the Aki Banzuke. Jake, this went pretty much as I expected it to go, whereas the very beginning of the Banzuke was very easy. Magashira to Magashira 6 to Magashira 11, impossible. And then Magashira 12 to the rest, also very easy.
So yeah, that was kind of what we were predicting, that there would be a batch of just garbage in between, right?
Yeah, and my God, did I absolutely whiff on that section.
Well, once again, we are working on our new YouTube graphic here, so you can follow along as we talk through each individual result.
Like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. There, I'll keep it shorter.
All right,
I'll keep
fine,
it shorter this time, Jake.
I appreciate that you did it quickly, but yes, all right. Yeah. I think I'm good to go then. Should we just dive right in?
Start right at the top with the Yokozuna, which obviously is Terano Fuji on the east side there. And then on the west side, obviously, there is no Yokozuna there. A little bit shake up at the Ozeki rankings as we expected, as Kirishima will be your Ozeki East and Takakeisho will be Ozeki West. Both of these Rikishi are Kadoban Ozeki and will need 8 wins to keep their rank in the next Basho. Moving on to Ozeki 2, as we are now back up to 3 Ozeki for the first time since, oh God, when was the last time we had 3 Ozeki?
Takakeisho, Shodai, Mitaki Yumi. Was that a trio at the same time?
Yeah, they were all together. It's just win. So first time we have 3 Ozeki in a year, as Shodai and Mitaki Yumi have both dropped out, and Hoshoryu and Kirishima have replaced them. So it took about a year to shuffle through all of them. And Hoshoryu is going to be on the west side, as we see he is balancing out Terano Fuji on the east side. He's on the west side to balance out the Banzuke. And first Ozeki Basho for Hoshoryu, which means he is going to be the lowest ranked Ozeki, no matter what his record was in the previous Basho. And he could be our sole Ozeki after this Basho if Kirishima and Takakeisho both cannot secure 8 wins in the upcoming Basho. Likelihood of that, not high, but
yeah, if you're a raging pessimist, it's possible though.
So Jake 100% is
absolutely on the one Ozeki train.
Yeah. Moving on down to the Sekiwake rank. Once again, no surprises at all throughout the Sanyaku ranks. Sekiwake 1 East, we have Daisho. Sekiwake 2 West, we have Waka Motoharu. Both of them moving up 1/2 rank after their not disappointing 9 and 6 performances in the previous Basho. But we do have a new Sekiwake that is replacing Hoshoryu, who moved up to the Ozeki rank, and that is Koto no Waka at Sekiwake East. He had an 11-4 record in the previous Basho from the Komusubi rank, which, as we've gone over a couple of times recently, that guarantees you a promotion up to the Sekiwake rank, even if there isn't already room for you there.
And this is one where it's not because there have been extra Sekiwake that we are continuing to do that.
Correct.
Right. Sorry, go ahead.
It is because Daisho, Wakamotoharu, previously Sekiwake, both have winning records. They can't be demoted, so they are occupying the 2 regular Sekiwake slots, Sekiwake East and West, that you would have on the Banzuke, and then Koto no Waka, and then the one that was the extra one that Hoshoryu filled, that is gone. That's disappeared. It now needs something to force it open, something to make that third Sekiwake slot open up, and that was fulfilled by Koto no Waka getting 11 wins from the Komusubi rank.
Right. Just because there's 3 or 4 last time doesn't mean that has to be the case. But this time, as we've discussed on a couple of these, we're just continuing the streak of forcing open extra slots.
That's right. And we have only 3 Sekiwake. There is no Sekiwake 2 West this Basho. Then we drop down to the Komusubi rank. Once again, still no surprises, as both the Komusubi slots are filled with Magashira 1 Rikishi that had winning records in the previous Basho. Nishikigi going 10-5 from Magashira 1 East, and Tobizaru going 9-6 from Magashira 1 West. This is going to be a career high ranking for Nishikigi. Forgot to to mention career high ranking for Koto no Waka, career high ranking for Hoshoryu. So we had discussed a little bit, like Nishikigi just turned 33 years old. This is his first ever Basho in the Sanyaku ranks. And we were kind of wondering, how did Nishikigi stack up as far as oldest Rikishi to make their Sanyaku debut? I did some research, did some Sumo DB queries, and then I had to create a spreadsheet to pull out the data properly and get it. It was a process. This was about an hour-long process to figure out who the oldest Rikishi was to make their Sanyaku debut. It turns out...
May I take a guess at your procedure?
Sure.
Based on how I would have done it?
Mm-hmm.
I would have looked at... oh, shoot. Is there a way to export their like debut date at a rank?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, because if you export that and export that for like everybody who's ever made a Komusubi or Sekiwake debut, then you could also export an extra column of their birth date, and then within Google Sheets do the math to subtract dates.
Yeah, and the dates don't line up exactly in Sumo DB for like how the query comes out, so I had to write functions like pull out the first 2 letters from this one,
okay,
pull out the middle 2 from this one, then I had to do but yeah, we figured it out. We got there.
That's the nice little nitty-gritties spreadsheet. That's what I like. Yeah,
the extra mile we go to figure out who the oldest Rikishi to make their Sanyaku debut was. And turns out it's not Nishikigi, and it's not Nishikigi by a long shot. So at 33 years and 2 weeks old, Nishikigi will be the 17th oldest Rikishi of all time to make his Sanyaku debut. Now, that number's a little bit skewed because that list is filled with quite a few Rikishi that fought in the late 1800s or early 1900s before the concept of a Yusho even existed.
Yeah, okay.
So kind of different back then. So not really comparing apples to apples. So if we want to look at the modern era, which is 1958 and beyond, he is the 5th oldest Rikishi to make his Sanyaku debut. So the 4 ahead of him were Itai, who made his Sanyaku debut in May of 1989 at 33 years and 2 months old. We had Tamaryu, who made his Sanyaku debut in November of 1987 at 33 years and 4 months old. Kotoi Nazuma, who made his Sanyaku debut in November 1995 at 33 years and 7 months. And then Shio Nishiki, who made his Sanyaku debut in July of 1959 at 34 years and 10 months. So
those are all pretty close together, though. Like, it feels like this is one of those records that's like fairly optimized, and it won't be broken very well or very often.
Probably not for a while.
It's like we've like determined like this is like the asymptote we're approaching for like how fast a human can run 100 meters or something. It's similar. This is like the asymptote for how old you can be to make it to Komusubi.
It's gonna be really rare to find a Rikishi that is peaking in their career at 35 years old.
Exactly.
Nonetheless, however many Rikishi even make it to 35 years old, let alone are able to peak at that point in time. Between those 4 Rikishi that I mentioned, in their entire 4 careers combined, they fought a total of 4 Basho in the Sanyaku ranks, meaning that their Sanyaku debut was also their last Basho in the Sanyaku ranks. Kotoi Nazuma went 6-9. The rest of them all went 3-12.
Oof.
So we'll see if Nishikigi can keep up his world-eating status. Also got to say real quick, rest in peace to Bray Wyatt, who is the person that I took the Eater of Worlds nickname from and donned that upon Nishikigi. Very sad news of his recent passing. WWE superstar, only in his mid-30s. Extremely creative. One of the most creative characters in WWE history passed away this past week.
Very similar to Sumo. Professional wrestling heroes don't usually make it to old age.
Yeah. Sorry for that bit tangent, but yeah, just wanted to point that out. The Eater of Worlds nickname that I gave to Nishikigi was from Bray Wyatt, and he just happened to pass away.
Big formative wrestler in my pro wrestling fandom. Like when he re-debuted as Bray Wyatt after a couple other cruddy gimmicks. That was right around when I was watching pro wrestling full time. Anyways,
getting back to sumo. So Jake, you had mentioned probably not going to see this record broken anytime soon.
Right.
If we do want to see this record broken, we're going to have to count on a couple of good basho out of Sada no Umi, as he is the only rikishi in the top division that is currently older than 34 years and 10 months who has not made it into the Sanyaku ranks yet in his career.
Okay.
So Sada no Umi, we just get a few double-digit bashos in a row. Let's break this record. He's 36 years old. Let's shatter that glass ceiling.
Oh boy. Yeah, I don't think that one's gonna happen. I'm gonna go out on a limb. Hot take.
Yeah. So let's move on back to the Bonsuke proper. Little fun segue there, but we gotta get back to business at hand, and that
also
is
depressing.
the Bonsuke. Yeah. So at Magashira 1 East, we have Hokuto Fuji rising 8 ranks from Magashira 9 to occupy that top Magashira rank after his career best performance in the previous basho of a 12-3 record with a playoff loss. With another winning record, Hokuto Fuji would return to the Sanyaku ranks for the 3rd time in his career, and this shocked me because it doesn't feel like it's been this long, but returned to the Sanyaku ranks for the first time since March of 2020. Does not feel like it's been over 3 years since we've seen Komusubi Hokuto Fuji, but it has been.
Anyways.
And then at Magashira 1 on the west side, we've got Meisei rising up 2 ranks from Magashira 3, and he is also on the cusp of re-entering the Sanyaku ranks himself. He's been there a lot more recently. I think back in January was the last time he was at Komusubi. So then all of these predictions have been perfect predictions. Now is the perfect time to talk about what you are looking at on YouTube. So we have my prediction for the Aki Basho, which we went over in our preview episode, which came out just last week. And then next to that, we have the actual results. And if a name doesn't have a color in its background, that means I got an exactly right prediction. And as you will see on the YouTube screen right now, there's no color in the Aki results, means I have gotten all these predictions completely accurate. And as we go along, there will unfortunately be some misses. I strive to be, but am not yet perfect. For
example, you might take
at the Magashira 2 rank, we get to my first misses, albeit slight misses, but we have Abi dropping 2 ranks from Komusubi to Magashira 2 East, and Asanoyama rising 2 ranks from Magashira 4 to Magashira 2 West. So what you're seeing on the screen is Abi has a light shade of green on his color, which means he ended up ranked higher than I expected him to go. The lighter shade of green means not very much higher than I expected him to go.
There'll be a few darker green ones coming up.
We'll get there.
We'll get there, yeah.
And Asanoyama has a light shade of red, which means he ended up just a little bit lower down the rankings than I thought he would go. So both of these guys, I just had them switched. I had Asanoyama on the east side of this rank and Abi on the west side of the rank. And the reason I did that is because, like I mentioned in the Bonsuke prediction episode, it seemed like Sanyaku bias wasn't as strong for Rikishi dropping out of the Sanyaku ranks as we have seen in the past. Wakataka Kage, for instance, dropped further than most anyone expected when he dropped from Komusubi down to Magashira 12 after having to sit out due to his injury. And then I also went over a scenario that was virtually identical to this Abi versus Asanoyama tie that we had. And in that scenario, the Sanyaku Rikishi ended up ranked behind the Magashira that he was tied with for that rank. So that led me to believe that the same thing should happen now. We did it just 2 bashos ago. Let's do it again. The rising Magashira on the east side should be ranked ahead of the dropping Sanyaku on the west side, which would place Asanoyama ahead of Abi. But the Bonsuke committee wanted to keep us guessers on our toes and decided to do the opposite for no discernible reason. But really, they're just going back to how it usually was. I mentioned in the preview for this, in the past, I would have had no hang up putting Abi ahead of Asanoyama because of Sanyaku bias. That's what we've seen in the past. Sure. In a tie situation like that, the dropping Sanyaku Rikishi is going to be taken 9 times out of 10 ahead of the rising Magashira. But recent past, they hadn't done that like 2 times in a row. So I figured 3 is a charm. But apparently, if you get to 3, that's setting a new precedent that we don't want to do that. So we're going back to how it used to be done. Who knows what it will be next time?
Exactly. Yeah, because usually you can point to, oh, well, I must have misunderstood and they valued this instead of that. But this one is just kind of like they flipped the coin, I guess.
This Bonsuke, for some reason, more than any others, really is cementing to me that they're just drawing names out of a hat.
Yeah.
A lot of times there's some trends that you can latch onto, but I just feel like with this new head of the Bonsuke committee, things have just been more inconsistent from Bonsuke to Bonsuke as far as like the weight given to Sanyaku Rikishi falling down the Bonsuke, the weight given to Joy Rikishi falling down the Bonsuke, just the weight given to Juryo Rikishi rising up the Bonsuke. It's just like one thing they choose to kind of like focus on and base the rankings on each Basho, and then it changes the next time. It's really kind of hard to keep track and find any real noticeable patterns. They're mixing it up quite a bit. So I don't know if they're just finding their feet, if maybe I'm just paying attention harder than I used to. Who knows what's going on. But let's move on to the Magashira 3 rank, where it doesn't take long to get back to our perfect predictions, as Shodai gets a generous drop of only 1 rank to Magashira 3 East after a 6-9 record from Magashira 2. And then Tamawashi gets a generous rise of 4 ranks to Magashira 3 West after an 8-7 record from Magashira 7.
Generous, but predictable.
Yes. Yeah. As we went through on the prediction, who else were you going to put there?
Exactly.
You weren't going to drop Mitaki Yumi 1 rank after his 3-12 record for Magashira 2. That was
like your only other option, I think.
Pretty much, yeah. So we get down to Magashira 4, where Takanosho gets an even luckier rise up the Bonsuke than Tamawashi, as he rises 5 ranks to Magashira 4 East after an 8-7 record from Magashira 9. This is going to make Takanosho one of our luck of the Bonsuke candidates. I forgot to mention it. I'm making Asanoyama a snub of the Bonsuke candidate. Not that he really... I mean, he got an over promotion of 1. It's just the principle of the matter of that's not how they've been treating him, and now they're treating him a little bit different. So Asanoyama gets a little bit of a snub there.
And Takanosho, 5 ranks for barely Kachikoshi is also
very favorable, lucky. Very lucky. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I want to keep tabs on some of these Rikishi like Takanosho this Basho, because on the last Bonsuke, it was pretty clear that the Bonsuke committee gave preference to Rikishi that fought some Sanyaku matches. I went over that in great depth in the preview for this Bonsuke. So I want to see, did that carry over into this Bonsuke? Does that seem to be a consistent rule that maybe they're going with this time? So taking a look at Takanosho, him and Gonoyama were tied for deserving this rank. Well, not deserving this rank. They were tied for deserving Magashira 8, but we had to pull somebody up here.
That's right.
So if we used tiebreaker rules, Gonoyama would have deserved this rank ahead of Takanosho, as he had a better record between these two. But Takanosho ended up ranked ahead of him on the final Bonsuke, as obviously we have not gotten to Gonoyama yet. So was this due to Takanosho fighting 1 match against the Sanyaku Rikishi, whereas Gonoyama fought 0 matches against Sanyaku Rikishi? I'm not sure. We need to kind of get further into the Bonsuke, kind of see how that held up the rest of the way out.
But it seems to be one data point in favor of that argument.
So far, it would appear so, yeah. Then
no foreshadowing whatsoever there.
Not at all. Then we get to Magashira 4 on the west side, where Ura is going to be standing strong at that rank after a 7-8 record. There's as we just mentioned, Takanosho and Gonoyama deserve to be Magashira 8, and they went ahead of him because there's literally nobody else that could go there. So there's obviously nobody that is deserving of knocking Ura from the Magashira 4 West rank, and with a 7-8 record, unless somebody's there to knock you down, you can stay right where you are. And we're going to see that a couple more times on this Bonsuke. Then we get to Magashira 5, where we do have Gonoyama landing at Magashira 5 East, rising up 8 ranks from Magashira 13 after his impressive debut of a 10-5 record and a Fighting Spirit prize. And we also have another Rikishi that had an impressive debut last Basho, Shonan no Umi, rising up 9 ranks from Magashira 14 after his 10-5 Makuuchi debut with the Fighting Spirit prize. Shonan no Umi is rising up 9 ranks for a 10-5 record, and that's going to make him a Luck of the Bonsuke candidate. That's a 4-rank over promotion for him. And I do want to point out this Magashira 5 rank has been fairly unkind to younger Rikishi over the past 2 Basho. In July, we had Hira de Umi, who I believe is 23 years old, around that range, he was at his career high rank of Magashira 5. He had a 5-10 record. And in May, we had Keen Bozan, who was at his career high rank. He had a 4-11 record. And in that same Basho in May, we had Koto Shoho. Wasn't his career high rank, but he's still only 23, 24 years old himself. He had a 2-13 record. So we will see if Gonoyama and Shonan no Umi can turn the tides of the Magashira 5 ranking and the bad omens that have been carried with it for younger guys these past few Basho.
It's a lot of voodoo you're putting on those guys right now.
I'm not putting any voodoo on them. I'm just noticing trends and speaking them to life.
Speaking them into the world, yes.
If anybody gets caught with bad voodoo, hopefully it's Gonoyama and not Shonan no Umi.
Oh, that's right. It hasn't been long enough for me to remember, but he's your new he's recently been your lifelong rival.
I professionally despise Gonoyama, yes.
Right, of course. Okay, gotcha.
So at Magashira 6 East, we have another lucky drop for Rikishi with a 6-9 record, as Onosho drops only 1 rank from Magashira 5. And I'm going to make him a Luck of the Bonsuke candidate because we had Shodai drop 1 rank from Magashira 2 East to Magashira 3 East after a 6-9 record. But Onosho is dropping from Magashira 5 West to Magashira 6 East, which is effectively just a half-rank demotion.
Yeah.
So because of that, gets him just slightly bit luckier than Shodai, so I'm making him a Luck of the Bonsuke candidate. And then Magashira 6 West, look at my beautiful prediction. Look how clean it is. Just a little bits of color at the Magashira 2 rank, but other than that, perfectly white, perfect prediction. This Magashira 6 West is where things really start to fall apart for me. And I think most people who did predictions for this Bonsuke. I had predicted Midori Fuji to land at this spot, to drop only 3 ranks after a 4-11 record. That is not what happened. What I was counting on was some pretty damn well established joy bias to soften the fall for Midori Fuji here, as his only competition for this rank were all Rikishi that were outside of the joy. Midori Fuji, to remind people, he was 4-11 for Magashira 3, so he was firmly within the joy. Everybody else who was close to him for deserving this rank was not in the joy. And for some perspective, here is what we have seen over the past year as far as joy bias confirmation. Back in Hatsu, Ura went 4-11 for Magashira 3. Hey, does that sound familiar? He deserved to be ranked 2 ranks behind Onosho and Oho. So I believe Ura would have deserved to be ranked Magashira 10. Onosho and Oho would have deserved to be ranked Magashira 8. Neither of those 2 Rikishi were in the joy, and Ura ended up ranked ahead of both of them. I think he ended up at Magashira 7 that Basho.
Okay.
In Natsu, Tamawashi went 3-12 from Magashira 1. He deserved to be ranked 1 rank behind Sada no Umi, who was not in the joy, and he ended up ranked ahead of him. In that same Basho, Ryuden went 2-13 from Magashira 2. Deserved to be ranked 1 rank behind Aoyama, Daishoho, Kotoeko, and Hokuseiho, and he deserved to be ranked 2 ranks behind Takuto Fuji. He ended up ahead of all 5 of those Rikishi, none of which were in the joy. And then in Nagoya, we had Nishiki Fuji, who went 3-12 for Magashira 3. He deserved to be 1 rank behind Kotoeko and Miyugiryu, 2 ranks behind Hokuto Fuji, and 3 ranks behind Takanosho, and was ranked ahead of all of them. So,
strong argument.
I expected very similar treatment for Midori Fuji here. What do we get instead? Boom, we get Ryuden. rising 9 ranks after a 10-5 record from Magashira 15 to take the Magashira 6 West rank. Ryuden deserved to be the same exact rank as Midori Fuji, and yet, unlike all these other cases that I just brought up, Midori Fuji did not get the benefit of his higher rank and tougher schedule when it came to this ranking. So
surely he's next, though, then.
Surely not. We'll get to that in a moment. But as you can see on YouTube, Ryuden's color is shaded a dark shade of green, which means he is ranked
higher than,
much higher than I projected him to be. He is ranked 3 full numerical ranks higher than I expected, or 6 half ranks on the Bonsuke.
Wow.
So we get to Magashira 7, where on the east side, much like Ura, we're going to have Takayasu holding strong at the Magashira 7 East rank after a 7-8 record. We are still in an area of very large over promotions and under promotions. We just saw Ryuden get a 4 rank over promotion to jump 9 ranks after a 10-5 record. And real quick, the reason he is not getting a Luck of the Bonsuke candidacy like Shonan Naomi is that Ryuden is really jumping up 8.5 ranks, whereas Shonan Naomi jumped up a full 9 ranks. So Shonan Naomi went up 1 half rank higher than Ryuden, really.
But Ryuden
numerically the same amount.
Numerically, well, numerically Shonan Naomi went up higher or had a bigger rise, but he deserved it based on the rest of the Bonsuke.
True. So, Ryuden got through there. There is logic. We'll get to it. I know the logic.
Okay. Hard sell, but yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah. So Takayasu, Magashira 7 East, nobody around to knock him down any further than that. Then at Magashira 7 West, we have Oho dropping only 1 rank to Magashira 7 West. To Magashira 7 West from Magashira 6. Again, a 6 and 9 Rikishi, only dropping 1 rank. So as you can see on YouTube, my prediction had Oho a little bit further down this Bonsuke. He was the Rikishi that most deserved this rank based on the previous rank and record. But when I was doing the prediction, I had thought that more joy bias would come into play here than actually did, and I thought that would knock him down a little bit further.
Sure.
At Magashira 8 East, we have Koto Ueko rising up 3 ranks after an 8-7 record from Magashira 11. He ended up 2 numerical ranks higher than I expected him to go. And then we have Hirado Umi dropping down 3 ranks to Magashira 8 West after a 5-10 record from Magashira 5. He ended up 1 numerical rank lower than I expected of him. So both of these Rikishi, like Ryuden, deserve to be the same rank as Midori Fuji. And both of them ended up ahead of Midori Fuji, despite Midori Fuji having been in the Joy. So Hirado Umi, he was kind of Joy adjacent. He was Magashira 5. He fought 3 Sanyaku matches, but Koto Ueko was completely outside of the Joy at Magashira 11, and he fought no one in the Sanyaku ranks. So, Jake, we were talking about if there's any sort of bias for Rikishi that fought against Sanyaku Rikishi. There's not even joy bias in this Bonsuke. So, definitely some just different logic being used by the Bonsuke committee each time.
Different logic. That's a very diplomatic phrase.
Yeah, different logic.
Alternative facts on this Bonsuke.
And then finally at Magashira, I don't know why I said finally. We've got half the Bonsuke to go. At Magashira 9.
It's as far as we're going to go tonight. We're going to quit after this one.
That's going to be a 2-parter. At Magashira 9 East, we get to... Oh, no, now I know why I said finally, because we finally get to Midori Fuji.
Hey, finally!
Magashira 9 East. That's a very dark shade of red, because I missed him by 2.5 numerical ranks. He's 2.5 ranks lower than I thought he was, because I had him going where Ryuden was. So
right.
he is dropping 6 ranks after his 4-11 record from Magashira 3. And I am going to be making him a snub of the Bonsuke candidate just because of that complete and utter lack of joy bias from him, which has been a pretty hard and fast rule. I brought up examples from just this year, but I mean, that's been going back since I've started doing Bonsuke.
Oh, yeah. That's been a thing for a long time.
Yeah. Then at Magashira 9 West, we have Haku Oho rising up 8 ranks after his 11-4 debut at Magashira 17. So you can see here that 6 of our last 7 Rikishi I missed, and a few of them by quite a bit. So I want to stop down here and dissect why I missed so many guys in this range and why I missed them by so much. I had even said on the preview episodes, like, yeah, I don't think we're going to have any big misses like we did on the Nagoya Bonsuke. And
we were
here
thinking
we
any
are.
Mistakes would just be like shuffling the ties around by 1 or 2, right?
Yeah, and here we are with missing Ryuden by 3 numerical ranks, Midori Fuji by 2.5 numerical ranks. Yeah, it turned into a mess in this section. So what happened is we were dealing with a large pool of Rikishi that could have gone in this range. There was a pool of 10 Rikishi that all deserve to be ranked within 1 numerical rank of each other.
So a quarter of them, of all of them.
Yes. So in my prediction, as I obviously should have, based on all previous data, I assumed that some joyous would play a part. Some joy bias would play a part in this Bonsuke outcome, which obviously it did not. But I also tried to account for Rikishi outside of the joy that fought Sanyaku matches, which is some of the logic that they had used on the previous Bonsuke. So how did that play out in this section? So to figure that out, I want to focus on a group of 5 Rikishi that all deserve to be the same numerical rank. These 5 Rikishi all deserve to be Magashira 10. Obviously, we're all pulled up based on the need of the Bonsuke. Those 5 were Midori Fuji, Hira to Umi, Kodaweko, Ryuden, and Haku Oho. So Ryuden ended up being the highest ranked among these 5. He was Magashira 15 and fought 1 match against the Sanyaku Rikishi. So did his 1 match fought against the Sanyaku Rikishi put him on the same level as a Rikishi like Midori Fuji, who fought against 6 Sanyaku Rikishi, or Hira Umi, who fought against 3 Sanyaku Rikishi? I don't think so, because someone else who ended up ahead of both Midori Fuji and Hiradumi was Kodaweko, who, like we said, fought 0 Sanyaku matches. And then you had Haku Oho, who fought against 2 Sanyaku Rikishi, and he ended at the back of this group of 5. So what happened between the ranks of Magashira 6 West to Magashira 9 West? How did we get the order that these guys ended up in? It was actually incredibly simple. They followed the basic tiebreaker rules. They just ignored joy bias. That's all they did.
Oh.
At Magashira 6 West.
Okay.
Yeah. At Magashira 6 West, we couldn't place Oho there because that was where he was previously ranked in the last Basho.
And he had to be demoted, yeah.
And we can't freeze the ranking of a 6 and 9 Rikishi. So we had to pull somebody from the pool of Rikishi that deserved to be ranked below him. That is our group of 5. The first tiebreaker for that group of 5, if we're ignoring joy bias, is East versus West side. All of them were on the East side except for Haku Oho, and Ryuden had the best record among those 4, so he was the top ranked Rikishi.
Oh, damn it, this is all going to line up perfectly, isn't it?
It very well might. At Magashira 7 East, Takayasu deserved to be the highest rank, and we could freeze his rank because he had a 7 and 8 record. Then at Magashira 7 West, Oho was the next one who deserved to be ranked, so that's where he went. And then from Magashira 8 East to Magashira 9 West, we just follow the typical tiebreaker rules for those 4 Rikishi of most wins to least wins to get through all the Rikishi on the East side, and then throw in the Rikishi that was on the West side at the end of that group. So what I thought was going to be the most complicated part of the Bonsuke turned out to be the most straightforward logic used on this entire Bonsuke.
I'm seeing a scenario. Yeah, I'm seeing a scenario where somebody just goes, huh, hey boss, the joy bias makes this section kind of complicated. Can I just not? Oh yeah, just ignore it. Whatever. Just write the Bonsuke. Hurry up. We have reservations. We got to get to the restaurant by 6. Just wrap it up here.
Yeah. Do we really want to drop another 4 and 11 Rikishi, only 3 ranks? Well, yeah, but he has joy bias. Just forget it this time. Who cares?
That's too complicated. Whatever. I don't care. Put Ryuden at the beginning of the group. Whatever.
Yeah, so that was very frustrating to me. The section that I put the most time and thought into turned out I could have just done the bare basics and would have gotten it exactly right.
Cool.
Let's move on, shall we, to the Magashira 10 East rank, where we have a third Rikishi keeping their previous rank after a 7-8 record, and that is Keen Bozan. And at Magashira 10 West, we have Endo rising 6 ranks from Magashira 16 after a 10-5 record. So I am actually a little bit confused about why these Rikishi are on the sides that they are on. Both Keen Bozan and Endo deserve to be the same rank. Both were on the east side previously, and Endo had 10 wins compared to Keen Bozan's 7, so he should win the tiebreaker here and force Keen Bozan down at least a half rank after a 7-8 record. I have no idea why Keen Bozan held to this rank after a losing record when there was someone that deserves to move him down. Endo breaks all tiebreakers against Keen Bozan. I have no idea why Keen Bozan stayed put and Endo didn't move up one more half rank. I don't know if they were tired of over promoting people so much and they're like, no, one more half rank for Endo. That's a step too far. We've got to keep Keen Bozan here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny because keeping somebody at the same rank after a 7 and 8 is like a stopgap. It's like a last resort. It's not like a standard, like that. Yeah. It makes no sense. That's silly.
Yeah, like I said with Ura and Takayasu, you need to be presented with an option to move them. Well, we have Endo sitting right there. There's the option.
Yeah. Yep.
So
that's weird.
That one befuddles me. I have no earthly idea beyond I don't want to put Endo any further up. He's already getting a slight over promotion. We don't need to do anymore. Importantly, Endo fought one match against a Sanyaku Rikishi, and he still received this treatment, which I think should put the final nail in the coffin of the matches fought against Sanyaku Rikishi mattering. Looks like it was a one Basho fad, like treating Juryo Rikishi like people a few Basho ago. And honestly, I'm very disappointed in myself for putting so much emphasis in my prediction on that. Because like when they promoted the Juryo people like crazy a few Basho ago, I had said, let's see if they do it again. This is so out of character. Mm-hmm. It needs to happen again before I'm going to use that to base my predictions on. I had even said that in our Nagoya Banzuke review is like, okay, this is happening. I want to see it happen one more time before I utilize it in my predictions. And here I went just going willy-nilly. It's like, this is a new rule. We got to use it. We got to figure it out.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to consider that anymore. Not happening. Just like after this Bonsuke, I'm telling myself this now in hopes that I'm going to manifest it into real life so that in a couple of weeks when I'm doing the prediction for the Kyushu Basho, I'm not ignoring Joy Bias anymore. I'm going to predict it, Joy Bias, like it has been for all of eternity, not just because they did weird stuff this one Basho.
Sure.
I say that now, but we'll see what I do next
I'm
time.
looking forward to 4 pages of outlines about Magashira 5 and like because of like some specific one rank is just going to absolutely keep you up at night.
Always does.
Yeah.
Always does.
Oh man.
So we'll move down to Magashira 11, where on the east side, we have Mitaki Yumi dropping 9 ranks to Magashira 11 East after his 3-12 record from Magashira 2.
That's a pretty dark red, buddy.
Yeah. 3 full rank miss for Mitaki Yumi here, but this is just another example of Joy Bias not being strong at all this Basho. Mitaki Yumi ate the entire expected 9 rank drop from a 3-12 record. I don't know the last. Actually, let me do a quick query to see Magashira 2 with 3 wins. When's the last time somebody actually dropped all the way down to Magashira 11? Let's see.
This is either going to be like in the 50s or like March.
Not quite March. 2017.
Okay, so a while ago,
but only 3 cases ago. Aoyama, Magashira 2 West down to Magashira 11 West. But before that, then you got to go back to like 1996.
Yeah. Okay.
So the recent trend, the vast trend is most of them ending up single digit Magashira, with a handful ending up Magashira 10. The circumstances of the Banzuke must just push Aoyama down there, or maybe they're just like, joy bias doesn't exist for this one Basho in let's see, in November of 2017, just like they decided didn't exist this time.
For this one.
But like I said, the vast majority of the time, they're not eating that full expected 9 rank demotion. And kind of a sad note here. This is Mitaki Yumi's lowest rank since his 7th career Basho, when he was ranked Magashira 13 in March of 2016.
Yeah, because he got a Makushita boost to start his career.
Yep.
And just rocketed straight up to like the upper Magashira immediately, and has been there the whole time.
Yeah, he was a Sanyaku mainstay by the end of like his 2nd year, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Oof.
yeah. A precipitous drop for Mitaki Yumi here. Hopefully he can turn it around, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
Something's nagging at him.
He finally got that Ozeki, and like that Ozeki rank, and just downhill from there. It sucks so bad to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whatever.
Magashira
Talk about
11.
that more on the preview.
Yeah. Magashira 11. On the west side, we have Hokuseiho dropping 5 ranks after a 5-10 record from Magashira 6. So let's stop and take a look at these last 4 Rikishi that we just talked about. So Mitaki Yumi, Hokuseiho, Kinbozan, and Endo. Like the group of 5 we were talking about before, these 4 all deserve to be the same rank as well. But unlike that group of 5 we discussed, their placement very much did not follow typical tiebreaker rules. So 3 of these Rikishi were previously on the east side: Hokuseiho, Kinbozan, and Endo. Endo had the most wins, followed by Kinbozan, and then Hokuseiho. So the order that they should have been placed in, if we were just following typical tiebreaker rules, like they just did in like the 4 ranks prior to this,
6 through 9, yeah.
The order would have been Endo, Kinbozan, Hokuseiho, then Mitaki Yumi. As I mentioned before, I have no idea why they did Endo dirty by putting him behind Kinbozan. And I similarly don't know why Mitaki Yumi would end up ahead of Hokuseiho from this group. Maybe this was finally his joy bias kicking in, just the little last dregs of joy bias that they were going to allow to exist on this Banzuke. But I don't know why he would get some form of bias while Midori Fuji would not. And in fact, in order to put Mitaki Yumi at Magashira 11 West, he gets over-demoted by a half rank, when any over-demotions among this group could have been completely avoided if you put Mitaki Yumi on the west side, as he was previously on the west side. So the Magashira 10 and Magashira 11 ranks are my biggest head scratcher coming out of this Banzuke. I really have no explanation for the order that these 4 ended up in. I got Endo and Hokuseiho in the right spot by sheer dumb luck, and I backed into those correct predictions. I was
just going to say that, yeah.
I did not use the correct logic to reach those conclusions, but I'm happy I did anyways.
Right. Yeah, this was just absolute chaos, but like a broken clock is right twice a day kind of a situation, at least for those 2 picks.
Yeah, from Terunofuji to Takayasu, all of those good picks, I knew exactly why they ended up there.
Exactly.
Endo and Hokuseiho, I got them right, but I have no idea why.
Yeah, it's that meme from The Office of Michael shaking hands with the district manager in confusion, right? Or whoever that guy is.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations, I suppose.
Yeah. So let's move down to the rest of the Banzuke, where everything makes clear and perfect sense. Everything just lines up so much better. There's fewer tie-breaking scenarios. We don't have a group of 4 or 5 Rikishi who all deserve to be the same rank. And when we do need to break the tie, they just follow traditional tiebreaker rules. So we're going to breeze through these next few ranks. At Magashira 12 East, we have Takara Fuji rising 3 ranks to Magashira 12 after a 9-6 record for Magashira 15. Sada Naomi drops 4 ranks after a 5-10 record for Magashira 8 to Magashira 12 West. This is where he is going to begin his quest of 3 consecutive double-digit winning Bashos to become the oldest Rikishi to make his Sanyaku debut, at least in the modern era. I think
can't wait to see it.
When I looked at my spreadsheet, there was somebody that was like 37 or 38 that made their Sanyaku debut, but it's in the 1800s, so who cares?
Yeah. So it's nonsense.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody cares about history.
No, God, no. That
Be
stuff already happened.
Yeah, it's irrelevant to me now. I don't look at. I never go back and look at past Bonsuke's to see what patterns and trends develop to
Of course not.
figure out future Bonsuke's. That'd be ridiculous.
Oh dear. All right. Anyways, you said we were breezing through. Let's continue breezing then.
Miyagiryu drops 3 ranks after a 6-9 record from Magashira 10 to land at Magashira 13 East. Nishiki Fuji drops 5 ranks after a 5-10 record for Magashira 8 to land at Magashira 13 West. Aoyama rises 3 ranks to Magashira 14 East after a 9-6 record for Magashira 17. Koto Shoho falls 1 rank to Magashira 14 West after a 7-8 record from Magashira 13. Magashira 15 East, Atami Fuji returns to the top division at this rank after an 11-4 record from Juryo 1. And he followed all of our Juryo rules. He was placed after the last Makuuchi Rikishi that had a winning record. That was Aoyama at Magashira 14 East. And he was placed behind Koto Shoho, who he deserved to be 3 ranks ahead of, but he was put behind Koto Shoho in order to avoid over demoting Koto Shoho.
Gotcha. So it's less about what he deserves rank wise, but we can't inconvenience a Makuuchi wrestler for a Juryo wrestler.
Yeah, it's not what you deserve, Juryo Rikishi. It's where we can best fit you in without inconveniencing. Nice yeah, without inconveniencing the others around you who are
there you go.
more complete people that deserve respect.
Yeah.
At
better looking too.
Yeah,
better
absolutely.
looking people in the top division.
Absolutely. I mean, Atami Fuji, now that he's in the top division, that's a good looking fella. Back when he was in Juryo, it was utter, just couldn't bear to look at the screen.
Yeah, of course.
At Magashira 15 West, we have Chiyoshima dropping 3 ranks after a 6-9 record from Magashira 12. I was a little concerned that maybe they might flip these two because technically Chiyoshima got over demoted a half rank to put Atami Fuji at Magashira 15 East, but I don't think the Banzuke committee is too overly concerned about half rank over demotions if it doesn't change your numerical rank.
Okay.
So moving somebody from the east side down to the west side isn't as big of a deal as it is for moving somebody from like Magashira 15 West down to Magashira 16 East. I think that change in numerical number has some factor, or I could be talking completely out of my ass and this is just how they wanted to do it this time.
From how this Bonsuke has been going, yeah, probably that.
Yeah. Dropping down to Magashira 16, Kageyaki will make his return to the top division at Magashira 16 after a 9-6 record from Juryo 1. And Tsurugisho falls 5 ranks to Magashira 16 West after a 5-10 record from Magashira 11. So I had the placement of these two flipped at this rank. I had Kageyaki on the west side and Tsurugisho on the east side. Kageyaki only deserved to be 1 rank ahead of Tsurugisho, and my typical rule is you need to be deserving of 2 ranks ahead of a Makuuchi Rikishi in order to be placed ahead of him, but there might be some voodoo going on. Kageyaki was on the east side, Tsurugisho was on the west side. Kageyaki was at Magashira 1, which I think they get treated a little bit nicer. Juryo 1. I think they get treated a little bit nicer than the rest of Juryo Rikishi that are getting promoted. So I'm not overly concerned about that. And then we get down to our final Rikishi in the top division at Magashira 17 East. That is Dai Shoho dropping 3 ranks after his 6-9 record from Magashira 14. And we are shrinking the Magashira ranks by 1 as the Sanyaku ranks increased by 1. We had 8 Sanyaku Rikishi in Nagoya. We're going to have 9 here in Aki, which means we need to take 1 away from the Magashira ranks. So we're not stopping at Magashira 17 West anymore. We're stopping at Magashira 17 East for this Basho at least. We'll see what happens with Sanyaku ranks next time.
Gotcha.
So we brought 2 new Rikishi up to the top division this Basho, those being Atami Fuji and Kageyaki, which means we had to send 2 Rikishi down to Juryo. Those were the unfortunate Wakataka Kage and also Bu Shozan. some surprising news. I don't know if you've seen this, but it looks like Wakataka Kage has been training. There's footage of him doing matches on a Banzuke. He hasn't like rejoined Jungyo. Jungyo might be over at this point, but he hasn't rejoined that at all. But he has been doing some training, so I don't know if he's trying to make it in to this Basho to hope to try to stay in the paid ranks or what's going on. But maybe Wakataka Kage a little bit sooner than we might have expected.
Sure. As two guys that have recently discovered how brutal even casual sumo is. Yeah, Ryan's wearing a wrist splint. Mm-hmm. The fact that he's training that far ahead of a normal ACL timeline is both encouraging and also kind of concerning. Yeah, it could be both at the same time for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we had in our most recent Iowa Sumo Club practice had the closest we've had yet to a major injury, which was my elbow making an audible noise when me and Fleric were tied up.
Yeah.
I feel fine. I'm going easy on it because it wasn't quiet, but like,
yeah. Fleric went for the Kotsunage of Doom on you there.
Mm-hmm. I have been studying Takayasu too much, including which leaves me vulnerable to the move that can kill him.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so, it was weird and uncomfortable, and as basically non-athletes, we're not used to that kind of noise coming from that part of our bodies.
Not basically non-athletes, exactly non-athletes.
Pretty exactly 100% that, yes. Approximately. But yeah, the fact that Wakataka Kage, if he's that far ahead of recovery schedule, that's big news. Yeah, but good and bad, I suppose.
Would love to see him back in action as long as it's the right decision for his body and not the right decision for his wallet.
Yeah.
Not just the right decision for his wallet. It could be both. It could be the right decision for his wallet and for his body. But if it's only for his wallet, let's wait until we're healthy, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about that more on the preview. Hopefully another week or so, there'll be more news.
Yes. So there won't be. There never is. They're going to wait until the Banzuke is released, and we'll see whether Wakataka Kage is on it or not, and then we'll know. So let's talk about how I did overall on this Banzuke. Despite the doom and gloom that the middle section might show, pretty good prediction here for me. I got 30 bullseyes out of a possible 42 for a rate of 71% Rikishi at the exact correct rank. My previous best is 79% of the Rikishi at the exact best, at the exact correct spot. So not my best, but not too far off.
Not super far, yeah.
We had an additional 5 Rikishi at the correct numerical rank, but on the wrong side. So that's 35 Rikishi at the correct rank for an 83% correct rank rate. My previous best was 88%. So once again, pretty close to my best overall.
That's interesting. Real quick, that's weird to me because I guess it's not necessarily that you missed a lot of guys. It's that the ones that you missed were like wildly off compared to where you're normally at.
Yeah, but yes, the Banzuke, you can miss somebody by 10 whole ranks, and it counts the same as somebody who missed him by 1 whole rank. So
right, yeah. So I don't know, interesting way that the different ways to judge a Banzuke differ. Because by the Banzuke rules, you did pretty awesome, and then by like just sheer total misses, the way that we started grading these originally, not all that good.
Not great.
Yeah.
So in the Guess the Banzuke contest, the best person who had the most Rikishi at the correct rank had 38 Rikishi at the correct rank. So I was 3 behind them. But overall, I finished 5th in this Guess the Banzuke contest out of, I think, a record 202 entries. I'm not sure that they've ever broken 200 entries on a Banzuke prediction before. So I had a 14-1 equivalent record. And my rank moved up from 5th in the previous Basho to 2nd overall in Guess the Banzuke. This is my highest ranking ever, and I'm continuing a streak of being in the top 10. This is my 11th consecutive Basho in the top 10 rankings. I want to pull something up real quick because I think I've got 3 straight top 15 performances, which I feel like is
like
fairly
because
impressive.
the second ranking, that is like overall based on like the last like year or however they do it, right? But when you say fifth, that was this specific Bonsuke. So you're saying that you've finished in the top 15 on each individual Bonsuke that many times.
Yeah, so if we look at the past year, my placements are 5th this time, 14th last time, then 3rd, 14th, 62, and then a 2. So
62, that's rough.
I've almost got a full straight year. That 62 was a weird one where wasn't really sure what was going to happen with the number of Sanyaku. It was like so overcrowded. People had no idea what was going to happen.
Yeah, I remember that one being, I can't remember exactly which one, but yeah, I remember how it was like everybody did bad. Everything got shuffled up.
Yeah. And so I had missed the number of Sanyaku Rikshi, and that just completely tanked my ranking.
Right.
But in a couple of Basho, when that 62 is out of there, if I keep this current stretch going, I think I might have a chance at number 1. We'll see. We'll see.
I think it's super cool how the approach is consistently being proven to be a good one.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Of people that are currently in the top 10, I have the second longest streak of being in the top 10, except for one, Asa Shosakari. This looks like a guy that's been around since like the beginning. He has like 9 Yusho in his career. He's in the top 10 right now, but he hasn't been in the top 10 for this current streak as long as I have been. But if you look at his record, I mean, he's been in top 10 a ton of times.
He's a legend that you are currently better than in the moment.
In the moment, yes.
Right, exactly.
I still am, and I feel like I am Kisei no Sato right now. I am right on the edge. I just keep getting close because I finished. I think this is my 5th top 5 finish in Guess the Bonsuke, and I still have yet to get that elusive win. But most importantly, when it comes to the rankings, I was very much angered last time that friend of the podcast, Tim Sumo, had surpassed me in the overall rankings, and that has been eradicated. That has been fixed, as I am now number 2. He remains at number 4. So
the universe is back in order.
Universe is right. Our patron Mosho Gaedu, he actually won the Yusho a couple of Basho ago, and he had launched up to number 2. I'm now ahead of him this time as well, as he is number 3. And of course, our Bonsuke senpai Leonard at the Tachi blog, I still remain ranked ahead of him, as he is still trying to recover from a couple of disastrous Basho for him.
Who's number 1, by the way?
Guy named Shift. I don't know.
No. Okay.
I don't know. I have a little bit of, I don't know. I get mad at people within the top 10 that skip Basho. Because I feel like I have no idea what's going on in their lives. It's probably just like, oh shit, I forgot to do my Bonsuke entry. But I feel like they're trying to game the system.
I got laid off for the season. Like, a million things. That son of a bitch didn't put in a Bonsuke this time.
They're trying to game the system. They think this one's going to be tough, so they're sitting out. Because the way that the ranking system works is Guess the Bonsuke has the Kosho Seido system. So if you miss one, basically freezes your rank, and that doesn't count against your overall ranking.
I gotcha.
So
you would never use that though out of principle. I can guarantee that.
1 out of principle and 2 out of content.
But yeah.
Be 2 less.
Got to keep that train rolling.
Got to keep that train going. But yeah, I feel like the shift guy is a little shifty in that he's taking a couple of Bashos off here and there, and to kind of try to preserve his ranking. So keeping my eye on him. I'm just saying, I'm doing it the right way.
Oh man.
So if we evaluate this Bonsuke, as Jake mentioned, how we originally kind of evaluated my Bonsuke, just kind of tracking the overall misses. Like Ryuden, I missed by 6 spots on the Bonsuke. If we add those up for all of the Rikishi across the Bonsuke, I missed a total of 32 spots this time, which my previous best is 12. So it shows
that one
you
was
kind
a
of
legendary Bonsuke.
I've done that twice. It shows you kind of
legendary Bonskes.
shows you the difference between kind of guess the Bonsuke and like I was pretty close to my best this time, and then kind of when you look at just that other way of evaluating it was kind of far from my best.
The magnitude of the misses was greater than it usually is on some of these.
But there's no contest based on the other way.
Right.
We only did contest based on
yeah.
We didn't know guess the Bonsuke existed.
Exactly. So we were just like, I don't know, let's just add up the total misses and like compare that one to the next one and so on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I really appreciate that we're doing Guess the Bonsuke now. I say I appreciate that we're using those results to judge your performance, because that's like a relative thing.
Yeah.
Like there are Bonskes that are like way higher degree of difficulty, but you're still consistently showing that you are like doing it as well as anybody else out there.
Yeah. Speaking of kind of like degree of difficulty, the winning score this time had 70 points in Guess the Bonsuke. I've seen a winning score of like 58 before in a particularly difficult Bonsuke.
Yeah,
my score of 65 this time. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There were 5 of us that had 65 this time. So it was a packed group at the top. But that score of 65 would have won the last Basho, where the top score was 64.
Okay. Yeah, good to know.
My worst guess on this Bonsuke was tied with Ryuden and Mitaki Yumi. I missed them both by 6 spots overall. 3 numerical ranks, 6 spots in the order. Looking at some of the jumps and drops down the Bonsuke, the biggest jumpers were Ryuden and Shonan Naomi rising up 9 numerical ranks. And then you also had Hokuto Fuji and Haku Oho rising up 8 numerical ranks. Biggest droppers down the Bonsuke, Wakataka Kage, obviously sitting out due to that injury. Magashira 12, dropping down to Juryo 7. That's a 12 rank drop. And Mitaki Yumi dropping down 9 ranks after his 3-12 record for Magashira 2, all the way down to Magashira 11. We will have 6 Rikishi at their career high ranks: Hoshoryu, Koto Nowaka, Nishikigi, Gonoyama, Shonan Naomi, and Haku Oho. There will be no Rikishi making their Makuuchi debut this Basho. So, Jake, I'm going to need your help once again in determining our snub of the Bonsuke and luck of the Bonsuke Rikishi. So our candidates for snub of the Bonsuke are Asanoyama, who basically just didn't get treated nicely like some rising in comparison to dropping Sanyaku Rikishi that we had seen over the past couple of Basho. We had Midori Fuji, who received no joy bias whatsoever. He went exactly where he should have in the rankings, as if he was just any other mid Magashira schlub. We had Endo, who ended up ranked behind Keen Bozan, who Keen Bozan got to keep his rank after a 7-8 record when Endo very easily could have taken his place. And then I had Hokuseiho for being over-demoted by a half rank, but still, it's the principle of the matter, for no real reason as far as I can tell. So which one of those do you feel like most deserves snub of the Bonsuke?
I don't know. I think at least for me, Asanoyama getting snubbed for like what felt like just spite. It's
not spite, because the guy he was going up against was Abi, and Abi's not getting any general favorable treatment.
They're not going to be nice to him more than
the JSA. Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that I think I might have to take Midori Fuji as my pick, though, just because like
the years and years of history of joy bias just going by the wayside.
Yeah. Like just completely for no, and honestly, Mitaki Yumi, I think, should be on this list for exactly the same reason and scenario as Midori Fuji.
Yeah.
But it's like, had we just picked any individual rule to ignore, those are the two that are the furthest lower than they should have been.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And the reason Midori Fuji is on here and not Mitaki Yumi is technically Mitaki Yumi did end up slightly higher than like the traditional tiebreaker rules would have him, whereas Midori Fuji ended up exactly where any other Magashira 12 Rikishi would have ended up.
He got screwed slightly worse. Yeah, no, that's totally makes sense. I'm good with that.
Mitaki Yumi got slight preferential treatment. Midori Fuji got none. And then we turn to the luck of the Banzuke candidates. We've got Takanosho for pure numerical sense, rising up 5 ranks after an 8-7 record. Same with Shonan no Umi, rising up 9 ranks after a 10-5 record. Then I got Onosho, who only dropped a half rank after his 6-9 record. And then Keen Bozan for staying put at 7-8 when there were other contenders vying for his rank.
Ryuden.
Fair?
No, I wanted to keep up the theme of picking somebody you didn't list there, but Ryuden only ended up beating like 2 guys that even had a winning record that tournament. Like he had like he just coasted through that like for a pretty soft 10-5 and then gets a 4 rank over promotion. That'd be one of my picks for sure.
I'll take Ryuden. I'll accept that.
I think more so than any of the guys that you listed, that one just seems egregious based on ignoring one of the rules. We just took one of the rules off the table, which caused him to go 6 slots higher on the list than he should have been.
That's a good point, because if we were paying attention to joy bias, Midori Fuji would have ended up at that Magashira 6 rank, and then the next spot Ryuden would have had to go was Magashira 8. So that kind of gave him an extra 2 ranks than he necessarily deserved. Like Shonan no Umi, there was no other options for giving him a 9 rank promotion. For Ryuden, there were other options and historical precedents that went against him. So actually, I like that pick of Ryuden for the luck of the Banzuke.
And just to reiterate, his schedule was not difficult. The only Sanyaku wrestler he faced was Koto no Waka, and he lost.
Tracks.
He beat Nishikigi and Haku Oho, which Haku Oho, because he was in the Yusho race, I guess that's neat. And he beat Nishikigi, who is Magashira 1. Yeah. But like, come on. that's not something to like completely burn down precedent for, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right, sounds good. So our snub of the Banzuke Rikishi of this Basho is Midori Fuji, and our luck of the Banzuke Rikishi this Basho is Ryuden. Jake, on our preview, I asked you for what you thought my worst guess would be, and as always, you selected the one where I wrote a 2-page diatribe on what I think should happen. And that was Magashira 7 West rank this Basho, which I even said in the prediction, there's a clear chalk answer for the Magashira 7 West rank, and that's Oho. But then I had to go and try to outsmart myself. And what did it end up being? It was Oho. So yeah, you got that right. I got the Magashira 7 West rank wrong.
Partial credit though, because it was definitely not your worst guess, but I have absolutely noticed a pattern in myself picking the thing that will break your heart the most because you put the most time into it.
Yeah, you choose the spot where I have clearly said, this is the hardest rank for me to figure out.
That's the one you're going to get wrong. Yeah. I'm so funny.
So that is going to wrap up our coverage of the Aki Banzuke for 2023. The Aki Basho proper will start Sunday, September 10th. Just want to remind everybody, we haven't mentioned it yet, but we do have a Patreon in case you want to support the podcast. $1 gets you a compliment every Basho. $3 a month will get you the right to ask us any question you want, and we are forced to answer it. Also, Jake, what else are we selling that we put a lot of hard work into?
I got a couple more of these guys. Our newsletters, we're finally printing hard copies and sending them out. We are selling them. We are definitely making a little bit of cash off of these as a fundraiser for the podcast. But the idea behind them is to get really high quality souvenirs for people as the top priority. But you can get those. We're selling them at $10. I'm trying to get that price down by working around with shipping and stuff like that. But yeah, those we include results, we include like historical stuff like that, like John Jock's there and all that. We'll do some more coverage on that. I don't want to make it like this big thing that we're just trying to like, nickel and dime everything, but we put a lot of effort into those, and it's a lot of people
high
are
quality
enjoying
printing, and
we're not doing it just to like, get a few bucks here and there. We're doing it to like actually produce something physical that we can keep for sumo.
Yeah, it keeps
it's a lot of fun to do.
It keeps everybody kind of in the U.S. amateur scene up to date on what is happening across that scene. You are probably the one of, if not the most informed person on every tournament that's going on, the results of those tournaments. And so there's no better person to write up a bi-monthly digest of what's happening in the world of American amateur sumo. So,
you know how much I don't like it when you compliment things like that. No, like I said, though,
if it wasn't for Jake, U.S. amateur sumo would be dead.
Stop it. But maybe keep going a little. No, like I said, we'll talk about that more, but keep an eye out for more stuff on amateur sumo. There's always stuff going on. If there's one resource I want to point you towards, it would be sumo411.com. That is Kellyanne Ball out of California, putting together the most complete sumo calendar in existence.
Yep.
So check that stuff out. Always a lot going on, but we'll cover that more when we have more time for it.
Yeah. Also, if you're interested in joining amateur sumo or you want to try it out, I believe each of the newsletters comes with a list of all of the clubs across the United States. If you want to try to find something near you, there's somebody might be close. There's quite a few clubs out there, and I feel like there's more coming up every month.
There's 31 clubs already in that newsletter, and I know already I released that like 2 weeks ago, and there's already another one that is going to be on the list for next time, and probably more. So growing like a weed, this sport is.
So if you enjoy this podcast, you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast listening service. If you enjoy this video, once again, you can like, comment, and subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit the bell to get notifications for when we post any of our videos. You can reach us on Twitter and or X, whatever you want to call it, Facebook, Instagram. Just search for Grand Sumo Breakdown. We've got a blog at grandsumobreakdown.wordpress.org. You can send us any comments, questions, or corrections to our email at grandsumobreakdown@gmail.com. Or if you would like to do that in voicemail form, you can do that at 805-613-7866. That is 805-613-SUMO. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you for listening to Grand Sumo Breakdown. Until next time,
Throw your salt high
and keep moving forward.